Hi map fans, and today we are looking at more model builder things. So off the back of the model builder series that we've been running recently, Derek got in touch. He's working in Ghana. You can see Ghana in the background here, just the outline of the country, and he's working with something called netCDF files, which are multi-dimensional files. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but let's have a look at this model. He wanted to iterate over his netCDF files that he's got. I think Derek's working with about 10,000 of them, so this model could take forever to run, but it is a perfect implementation of why you would use Model Builder rather than trying to process 10,000 files yourself, because you would probably die before you got to the end of it. So that model's run. We can see what's happened. We've got a couple of layers here. I'm not sure if they're the right ones. Let's just have a look in our GDB. Let's add that in. Yeah, beautiful. Alright, so this model looks a little bit complicated, but don't worry, we're going to take it through step by step, and I'll show you some tips and tricks as to how to get the model working exactly as you would like. Alright, so without further ado, let's talk about netCDF file. Over at the Esri site, you can have a look at this section of their docs. So we're in the netCDF, different data types, and the fundamentals of netCDF data storage. So they've got some nice images here. You can see how netCDF is used to store multi-dimensional data. So we might have, for example, temperature over different times. We can see that that's three-dimensional, so it'll be stored as an array. Also, you could have a fourth dimension, so it might be temperature over time at various different altitudes, and they'll be stored as a kind of array of arrays. We don't need to worry too much about the fundamentals of netCDFs for this demonstration, but if you do need to iterate over a lot of netCDFs, this will certainly get you started. So let's have a little look at these netCDF files that Derek has sent through, and it's a good idea always to check out your data before you get started with anything. So I'm going to go into the multi-dimensional tools, sounds exciting, doesn't it, and have a look at make netCDF raster layer. So if we open this tool up, it's going to ask me for an input netCDF file. Ones that Derek sent through are actually in here, the files, and they've got this file extension of .nc. So it looks at the top here, first up, that we have something like a date, so 1985, 1st of January, and midnight by the looks of it. Not sure what the UD is afterwards. I don't know what the data source is, so I'm just kind of working backwards here. So let's bring this one in, and we'll have a look at a couple of different elements to netCDFs. So first thing it's going to ask me for is a variable. Again, the tool help's really useful here. It'll ask you what variable you want to view. So I know from emailing with Derek that this is solar radiation, I think, without cloud, and solar radiation with cloud, or something along those lines. It's not hugely important because we are just looking at how Model Builder works, but we've got two different variables. It'll ask you for the X dimension, the Y dimension, and then we could actually add in some band dimensions. So if this was, say, the solar radiation with cloud and without cloud every 15 minutes, we might have a band dimension of time. And we do have that, so if we put that in there, we'll make a raster out of this netCDF layer. So let's OK that. Good, so we have our netCDF layer here, and this is the solar radiation without cloud, I think. If we open up this layer and have a look inside it, on our layer properties, we've got this new tab called netCDF. We can change our variable, so I'm going to make it the one with C, which I presume is cloud. And then if I apply that, you should see in the background how the raster changes. The band dimension currently is set to time, but if we go into symbology, I don't appear to have any different bands. There's only one band there. That's a bit strange. Let's put it on this blank one. And here we've got the dimension of time. And it looks like it is just a snapshot. So it's the 1st of January 1985 at midnight. Okay, so these netCDFs, a bit strange. We could probably have more things in them, so less files to begin with. But if we look here in the ones that I've created previously, that we have 1985, 1st of January, 2nd of January, 3rd of January. So it looks like it's just going on a daily basis. Interesting to know, we know a little bit more about our data now, so we can begin building a model. So I've created a new model. If you need to know how to do this, create a toolbox, create a model, watch the rest of the series. We have in-depth stuff on that. So this is my new model. It's in my toolset or toolbox, which is called netCDF clip. And we're starting with a blank model. It's a good place to start. And what I'm going to do is open up the multi-dimensional tools. And I'm going to make netCDF raster layer and just drag that across into here. So we can see how this tool looks inside Model Builder. Now, what we'd like to do, what Derek requested, is that we can iterate through his 10,000 netCDF files. And the aim of this is to be able to cycle through those, create a raster layer for each of the different variables, so with cloud and without cloud. And then finally to clip the output by the extent of Ghana. So I've taken this Ghana shapefile from a world shapefile that I have on my hard drive. You can find country shapefiles wherever. So we do know that we are going to need to create one raster for each variable. Now there's several different ways to do this. Mine might not be the best way, but hey ho, we're just going to do it this way. So I've got the netCDF layer, the raster layer, and it's going to output a raster layer. Now what we would like to do is to be able to iterate through our netCDF files. So we do the same action on each netCDF file that the model builder comes across. So I'm going to go into the model, or rather insert, and I'm going to look for iterators because that's what we want to do. We want to hit each file. Now ArcGIS doesn't have a preset for netCDF files. We've got workspaces, tables, rasters, blah blah blah. So I'm going to use just files, and here we can see that we've got the iterator in there. That's good. And what we want to do is the file that gets iterated, we want to use that as the input for the netCDF raster layer. So I'm going to join these up with the magic wand. Very nice. Now I'd also like to tell ArcGIS just to use netCDF files. So I'm going to go for file, let me rename this, and I'm just going to put that .nc on the end. Okay. Now where are we iterating from? That is a good question. And we are going to iterate from a folder, because we have the folder in our setup here, which is called files. And so I'd like the iterator to look in the files, and I like it to iterate through there. You can see when I go into add data that it doesn't recognize the .nc files, but don't worry, the model builder will. So I'm going to go back to Model Builder and I'm going to insert a variable, and that variable is going to be a folder. There we are. So the folder's in. I'm going to connect that up to my iterator, and now the iterator will know where to look. So at the moment all we're doing is making a netCDF layer, and we're going to put the output raster layer. So if I tell the model builder where this is kind of like hard coding the location. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to set the folder as this files folder. Okay, there we go, that's set, and you can see that the elements of the model become colored, and that means that, you know, things are set right. When we get to the netCDF layer, it's still white, black and white. And that's because we don't yet know what the settings are for this netCDF raster layer. So let's make that as well. We need to know what variables. So for this one, I'm not going to use name. I'm going to tell it to use one of these files, so our netCDF files. We'll just use the first one, and that'll tell us our variables. They're all set now, that's great. SIS, LON, LAT. The output raster layer, I'm not bothered about what that's going to be called at this stage, but that's all good. So if we OK that, you can see that we have an extra input here. I'm actually going to delete that simply because if we go back in here, you can see that our variables are all still set, which is quite useful. And instead of having a single file, I'm going to attach our iterator back to the model. And there we go. So we found out what fields we've got available. We've hard-coded those into this particular model tool, and then we've got our output there. So let's give it a test and see what happens. That was apparently successful. Let's close that down. And oh, we haven't added this to display, so let's make sure this gets added to the display, and there it is. Now this one I know from the data is actually just the last netCDF file, so that's the only one that we've got showing. And the reason for that is that we don't have an output location set, so all ArcGIS is doing at the moment is visualizing this raster from the netCDF file. So you can see here we've got our location showing where it is, and you can see that it's the last netCDF file that Arc came across, and it just pings that one up. So in order to get all three of them, what we could do is we could set an output location. So I'm going to insert a variable, and that is going to be a workspace. So if we go down here, we've got workspace, OK that, and I'm going to set this workspace to be a file GDB, and I'm just going to call this demo. Add that. OK. Now we don't actually need to connect any of this. It's not necessary at the moment. OK, that. So we have our output GDB. We have the iterator going through our netCDF file at the moment for the non-cloudy areas, or the non-cloudy variable. And the final thing that we'd like to do is to clip our netCDF by the extent of the country Ghana. So I'm going to go into my data management tools, into rasters and raster processing, and from there I'm going to steal the clip and put it in here. And what we'd like to do is to clip this by Ghana. And Ghana's up here in my table of contents, so if I double click on the clip, the output extent is going to be the same as Ghana. There we go. The output raster dataset at the moment is going to the netCDF clip, and I'm going to change that to the demo. And you'll also see that the file name is going to be sis_layer5_clip. So we'll OK that. I'm just going to tidy things up here a bit. So we've set our demo GDB as the output workspace. We've set the name to be sis_layer5_clip. We've got Ghana as the clip function, and I'm just going to make sure that this gets added to the display. And I'm going to stop this one from being added to the display, so let's remove that. And then I'm going to run it again. Now, can you foresee a problem with this? Particularly with the file name. We're iterating through a number of files, which is fine. Comes through here, it gets clipped by Ghana, but the output file name is always going to be the same. And that could cause a problem. So let's just give it a run and see what happens. I'll click to validate first, and then I'll give it a run. and it's going to do it 3 times, and it's done. There we go. Now we've got 3 netCDF files, and it has failed to clip for us. Why is that? Use input features for clipping geometry. I forgot to check that. There it is. Okay. So let's OK that. Let's validate our model again. And then this time I'm going to run it, but I'm going to let you watch what happens in the background. So let's just make this a little bit smaller. Fit that in there. And let's go. There it is, it's clipping them all, and fantastic. So we've got our layer 5 output clip. We know that it ran 3 times. Let's go and have a look inside our demo GDB. Wait, there's only one. Why has this happened, Arc? What are you doing to us? The reason this has happened is that it's got the same file name. So what Arc is going to do, although it processes all 3 netCDFs, when it outputs them, it's got the same file name every time, which means it just overwrites. So we need to change that. Can be quite tricky to do when you start with Model Builder, but once you know what you're doing, it's absolutely fine. So let's cancel out of this and look at how we can get individual names for each netCDF. Now, in order to get individual names for each netCDF that we're creating, we could do with something that is unique. And fortunately, if we look at our original netCDF files, it looks like each one of those has a unique name for every day. And also, fortunately, Arc reads this. So if we go back to the start of our model, where our folder is that the files are being read from, we are going to iterate over those, and one of the outputs from that is name. And we can actually utilize that name to give the name of our files. So if we go to our clip in here, and we look at the output raster data set, at the moment the name of it is SIS underscore layer 5 underscore clip. Now we could get rid of this layer 5 part, and if we use the percentage sign, that means that we're going to be using a variable. So we're going to give Arc a variable name, and the variable name that we want to use is also called name. So if we do that and we close out the use of a variable using our percentage sign as well, very good. If we OK that, now you can see how the output name has changed, and it's going to be whatever this value of name is on each run of the model. So let's give it another run, and let's see what our outputs are like. This is looking far, far better. Hey, look at this. So now we have the name of the original netCDF file, and we have the suffix of clip, and we have the prefix of SIS. Very good. So that's looking alright. We've still got a layer 5 in here because that's from the last run of the model, so we can just remove that, that's fine. So this is looking excellent actually, we're almost there. What else we'd like to do, at the moment our netCDF is only looking at this variable SIS, and what we actually want is for this to be SISC as well, cloudy variable too. So if we OK out of that, we can get around doing a lot of stuff again just by doing this. And we can, oh, I don't want the demo GDB to be included. I'm just going to copy all of this and bang, paste it in. So now we have got a duplicate of all these processes, and what I'm going to do is click into this one, and instead of SIS we are going to use SISC. Okay, and then on our clip instead of SIS underscore name, I'm going to make it SISC underscore name. Okay, so now we have two outputs. We've got Ghana being used twice. We could probably attach that one to there as well. Let's just validate this model. I'm going to get rid of this Ghana just to make this a little bit tidier. There we are. And that should be alright. Let's have a look. Ghana, I want to use the input features for clipping geometry. All good. Okay, so now what we're expecting is that 6 files will be output. One for SIS, one for SISC. They'll all be clipped to Ghana. And to see this in action, I am going to remove all of these. And then we're going to run the model again. Off it goes. File 1. Oh, that is interesting. So it looks like for our SISC we are getting a rather strange output. It's classified it for some reason. We can change that quite easily by going into the symbology and making it stretched. Okay, now it looks the same. These SISC files do look rather different to these ones. I'm not sure why that is. Perhaps Derek can get in touch via the comments and let us know exactly what this data or these data are showing. But there we go. So that's how we can iterate through netCDFs, and we can build not a complicated model, quite a simple one. There's quite a lot else that we could do with this to make it better, but I've been blabbering on for ages. So I'm going to leave it there for now. If you do have any questions, if you want anything clarifying, if you've got any suggestions how to make the model better, get in touch just like Derek did, and I will do my best to help you out. So there we go. That's netCDFs, how to iterate through them using Model Builder. Thanks for listening. Give us a thumbs up. Likes are really important. It's great to see so many subscribers as well, so more of those please if you haven't subscribed already. And thanks a lot for watching. Happy mapping.